Oh, welcome back to the channel. We're back in our Monster Hunter Commander deck profile today with Lagiacrus, Lord of the Seas. For 5 and 2 blue, you get 7/7, where the spell can't be countered. You have no maximum hand size, and whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you get to draw a card. And then you can discard 3 cards to blink this creature at the beginning of your end step. We have a few cards that we're looking to discard in order to blink him. A few cards that have those ETB abilities to win the game. A bunch of things that'll benefit off of us drawing a whole bunch of cards with this deck. It's our main win con for this one, is trying to have our opponents cast non-creature spells so we could draw some cards, so we could deck ourselves out, maybe get a Dasa's Oracle win, a Laboratory Maniac win, maybe just some big damage over Psychosis Crawler. But we'll be getting to that card by card in just a second. If you guys liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you want to see more Commander deck profiles, make sure you subscribe to the channel. But let's get into it card by card. Starting us off with an Arcane Signet. We are a 7 mana commander. We want to make sure we get as much mana as possible, as early as possible, so Lagiacrus, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, can get it out as early as possible. Imperial Plate. He's starting off as a 7/7, getting +1/+1 for each card in our hand. With how many cards we're drawing with this deck, that won't be hard to get him up to enough damage for commander damage. Not sure how often you're really going to be winning with commander damage with this deck, but definitely an option there. And with how many cards you're drawing, may as well. Lightning Grease, for that layer of protection there for Lagiacrus. He can't be countered, so you don't have to worry about your opponent countering them. But once he's out on the board, if your opponent has a Chaos Warp, Path to Exile, Generous Gift, so on and so forth, many other removal spells, we want to make sure he's protected, and giving him Shroud will do just that. And we also don't have to worry about giving him the Shroud, because that's not really many things in this deck we want to target him with. Maybe Imperial Plate, that's about it. Midnight Clock for that extra mana, along with potentially a fresh new hand. This way we could get those draw triggers off this ability, and other things we'll be getting to in just a little bit. Sapphire Medallion for some cost reduction. Sky Diamond for some extra mana. Soul Ring for some extra mana. Swiftfoot Boots for the same reason that we run Lightning Grease. Dot Vessel, no maximum hand size. We're not always going to have Lagiacrus on the board, so by having the Dot Vessel on the board, having no maximum hand size, when we have 20 cards in hand, we'll make it so we don't have to make decisions as often. For our creatures, we have Alondra, Sky Dreamer. When you draw a second card each turn, not just during your own turn, but during your opponent's turns as well, you get 2/2 Blue Drake. If you draw 5 or more during the same turn, you also get to give your creatures +X/+X. Really useful ability there. This way we could windfall, get super powerful creatures, deal some damage to our opponent, or just have guards up for like stalling for our game plan. Body of Knowledge, we're going to be trying to draw a bunch of cards. No maximum hand size, nice. Power and toughness equal to the number of cards in our hand, also really nice. But what's really nice is that when he is out damaged, you draw that many cards. So if you had 20 cards in your hand, your opponent has a 10/10 to swing with, you could block that, draw 10 new cards. Custom Skulker, whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, then when this creature dies, you get a whole bunch of creatures equal to the number of counters it had. We're drawing a whole bunch of cards, that's going to be a whole bunch of +1/+1 counters, which means a whole bunch of tokens to defend ourselves with. We like to see it. Consecrated Sphinx, really useful card for this deck. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. It's a May, so if you don't have your Laboratory Maniac yet, and you're about to deck out, make sure you don't do it. But also super nice. This way, all of our abilities that happen anytime you draw a second card each turn could happen during each player's turn. Illuge of the Shoreless Sea. A lot of our deck is instants and sorceries, so that cost reduction for him is super nice. Also, a fish to go with our sea commander. Fairy Mastermind. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you get to draw a card as well. Basically, a budget version of Consecrated Sphinx. Not like super budget. Still $20 almost. But also has your opponent's drawing cards. This way, you could draw some more cards yourself as well. Hullbreaker Horror, Flash, can't be countered. Choose up to 1. Turn your opponent's stuff to their hand, or their spells to their hand. I mean, could be super useful. Not exactly a counter spell, but almost like a counter spell. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. If you draw while you have no cards in your library, you could win the game instead. Similar to Laboratory Maniac, but he has some secondary abilities where a target player puts the top 2 cards of the library into the graveyard, and you could draw a card, and then you could draw 7. If the library has no cards in it, you win the game as well. I mean, never hurts to draw 7 either way. How often are you going to get there? Not often. Laboratory Maniac, another way to win the game just by drawing some cards. Ledger Shredder, helping us draw some extra cards just by our opponents playing the game. There's going to be at least one person each round casting more than one spell. So you're going to have to get a powerful creature, something to block for, and something we just like to see. Nidir Kraken, whenever you draw a card, you may pay 1. If each opponent casts 1 non-creature spell each turn, you pay your 3 mana, you get a whole bunch of tentacles. That's a whole bunch of cards that allows you to wait until you could draw your whole deck. Psychosis Crawler, power toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand, so potentially 20/20. Whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life. We like to have our opponents losing some life. We want to make sure we actually have a way to win the game, rather than just things that say win the game. Scourge of Fleets enters the battlefield. Return each creature your opponents control. Toughness extra less where X is the number of islands you control. I mean, all our lands are basically islands, but still super useful there. Board wipe our opponent, leaving us okay. Solemn Simulacrum, another creature that we like to keep around. Just a little bit of ramp. Like I said, we're a 7-mana commander, so take the ramp wherever you get it. You can also run Drawing of the Eldraine. Just a little bit expensive for what we're going for some of these decks. Teferi, Temporal Pilgrim, draw a card, put a loyalty counter on this card. So him, you're actually pretty likely to get up to -12, where target opponent basically shuffles their entire board minus a land into their deck. Right. Chooses a permanent they control. Yeah, returns the rest of the deck. It's really nasty. Got this off in when the set was first out, in the draft format of all things. That's his Oracle. In order to have a way to win the game, if we have less cards than we do blue loyalty left in our deck, there we go. We have my cards are drawn. It's not going to be that hard to do. Unagi of Kyoshi Island. This one's more of a budget version of a Consecrated Sphinx. When your opponent draws their second card each turn, you get to draw 2 cards. Helping our opponents draw some cards will help ourselves to some cards as well. Watcher of the Water. Enters the battlefield, tapped with a sun counter. When you draw a card, create a tentacle, more tokens to defend us while we draw out our whole deck. And whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap this creature, then we have a 9/9 to block with. Triska Decaphile. We don't always need to draw, why am I blanking on numbers? Our entire deck to win the game. Sometimes you just need 13 in your hand. And she'll do just that for you. Or maybe you just need 20 in your hand for 20 Toad to win the game for you. Another card, great at doing that. And great at helping us draw some cards while we're at it. Same with Triska Decaphile. She also helps us draw cards. Not really using it for that though. Wan Shi Tong, Librarian. Put X +1/+1 counters, then draw half X cards. Super useful ability, helps us draw a whole bunch of cards, and whenever our opponent searches their deck, aka they tutor, they ramp, all the fun stuff that people like to do, you get to draw cards as well. Then Wonder. I mean, we're just discarding some cards, so may as well give our creatures flying, so Lagiacrus can fly over our opponent's stuff as well. On to the second half of the deck. For our enchantments, we have Candlekeep Sage. Whenever a creature enters or leaves, draw a card. Helps us draw cards, especially if we have enough cards to just keep discarding and blinking Lagiacrus, because it goes away, you draw 1, comes back, you draw 1, and then that's already 2 out of the 3 you need to do it again. Dress Down, Flash, enters the battlefield, draw a card. Creatures lose all abilities at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Dress Down. I mean, it stops your opponent from a return from going infinite potentially. We like to see it. Mystic Remora, and also a little bit of draw power is nice too. Mystic Remora, some more draw power there. We don't run Ristic Study in this one. Well, I guess we do. It's down there. I almost missed it. But anything we can do to draw more cards gonna be super helpful for this deck. Ominous Seas. You're going to be drawing a whole bunch of cards. Drawing 8 is not difficult to do with this deck in the slightest. And when you draw your 8 card, you get an 8/8 Kraken, and then, well, you hold on to counters and do it later, but that's going to tend to be when you do it. Omniscience, we're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, which means we're going to have a lot of cards in our hand, which means we're going to need a way to cast those cards. So, we're not going to have enough mana to do all of it. We're not in green, so Omniscience does it for us. Psychic Corrosion. When you draw a card, each opponent mills 2. Now rather than having to draw all 100 to win the game, you only have to draw 50 and mill out your opponent's entire decks. Well, less than that, because they start with 7. By the time you get to Sal's turn 3. So they've gone down to 94. So you need to draw 47. Okay. Ristic Study. I mean, when you're talking about draw power, you're thinking blue. Ristic Study is the card you're thinking of. Teferi's Ageless Insight. Whenever we draw a card, we draw 2 instead. What's better than drawing a card? Drawing 2 cards. So, may as well put it in our deck. For instance, we have a lot of disruption for our opponent. Aetherize, this way if they try to attack us, no they didn't, they all go back to the hand. Offer You Can't Refuse for a counterspell. Arcane Denial for a counterspell. Brainstorm gets you draw power, but also you get to decide what you have in your hand. Counterspell for a counterspell. Bolt to Shore for a board wipe for our opponents. Evacuation for another board wipe. This way, if our opponents are like, oh, I'll attack them. Nope, no you're not. Flow of Knowledge for a lot of draw power. A little bit discard while we're at it, but really draw power we're going for. Frantic Search for some draw power. Plus, it's basically a free spell. High Tide for a lot of ramp. This way we could get our commander out a little bit early. Negate for counterspell. Pongify for some removal. Rapid Hybridization for some removal. Reality Shift for some removal. And Swan Song for a counterspell. Terrain Generator helps us get some extra land. Sink into Stupor helps us get rid of an opponent's creature temporarily. Seagate Restoration, really good draw power. Rogue's Passage. Reliquary Tower for the no maximum hand size. Nykthos, you have a lot of creatures, we have a lot of enchantments, so we have a lot of devotion to blue. Mystic Sanctuary, may as well grab us instant sorcery back. Mirrored Landscape for some ramp. Curse of the Swine for some, basically a board wipe for your opponent. Devastation Tide, turn all non-land permanents to your owner's hand, board wiping your opponent, potentially getting Alfred's Miracle cost, really good for us. Enter the Infinite, another way to win there with Laboratory Maniac, Jace, that's his Oracle. Get them on the board, get Omniscience on the board. You know, because you had 21 mana to cast all that, right? No. Preordained for some draw power. River's Rebuke, another board wipe. This way our opponents can't play the game. Treasure Cruise for some more draw power. And Windfall for a lot more draw power. Especially if we discard 20, we'll draw 20. But that's the deck there. I really enjoy this deck. This one seems like it's going to be pretty fun. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the commander correctly, because I haven't played this Monster Hunter. But if anyone did, if you leave the pronunciation down there in the comment section, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.